Hi, I'm Jill Collins, your guide to mastering midlife. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Mollie Kaye, a creative force behind the inspiring movement called Turnout Tuesdays. I saw Mollie's TED Talk a few days ago, and I was so blown away by her inspiring message and ways of making connections with people, something she calls elect to connect. You're going to absolutely love her, so let's dive in and meet her.
Don't make it hard for people to appreciate you. Don't punish them for appreciating you. Don't think, oh no, I look terrible today. It seems like both men and women are really kind of devoted to the idea that you're virtuous if you disappear. And all I can say is it's just lonely and it serves no one. Be splendid. Go out into the world and treat it like it's this moment of opportunity to have warm connections with people who might be around you. Well, it might be painful to venture into a social connection, but actually, like I say, it's more painful not to.
You have something called Turnout Tuesdays. And tell us a little bit about what that is and how it began for you and how you got started in this.
Thank you for
Yes.
having me on. I am so pleased to be able to talk more about my project. There's nothing that inspires me more than helping people add in more social connection to their lives because, as I say in that TEDx talk, I am really focused on the health giving benefits of social connection versus the health attacking negatives of being isolated and lonely. And even if we think we're having companionship with someone we live with, etc., we need community. I really can't stress that enough. And I think more and more in our world we're suffering from the lack of that feeling of belonging in a community. And so I took myself in hand and looked at how and whether I felt like I was getting enough social nourishment and connection in my life. I'm not a shy person, but I think we could call me a socially skilled introvert. I don't mind being by myself. And I worked as a writer mostly in the last 10, 15 years. So I worked from home. I didn't have an office environment. I didn't have a partner living with me, single mom. And throughout my kids' upbringing, I really had focused on them and not wanting to pull focus from them. So I would dress the way all the other mommies dressed. It was like a uniform we all wore when we were sitting there in the baseball stands cheering or sitting in the hockey rink cheering or whatever. Come to the parent teacher meeting. I deliberately dressed in a way that made me blend into the background.
What did you wear?
Okay, it was black. It was
Mhm.
all black.
Nice.
The kids could wipe anything on you and that didn't show. So it was, I think, this very practical choice. Everything black would go with everything else.
Yep, I do that.
I thought on some level it just looked mature and put together to wear black. I had always been shy about color, even in phases of my life where I did bust a move and have some style. I just tended to be very afraid of color anyway, but that's what we all wore. Black puffer jacket, black sweatshirts and black yoga pants and black hat, the knit cap, and that was it. Maybe you could do something with your earrings, but mostly we all just
That
made
was
our
it.
yeah, made ourselves look like everybody else so that I think it was a way of saying I'm a good mom because I'm not wanting you to pay attention to me. Look how devoted I am to my kids. I'm not an attention seeker. I don't know. Maybe it's just in Canada, in the west coast of Canada. It seems like both men and women are really devoted to the idea that it's like a moral failing if you draw too much attention to yourself or something like you're virtuous if you disappear. And all I can say is it's just lonely and it serves no one. Doesn't serve you, doesn't serve the people around you. And I'm not buying it.
I love that because I think the messages I'm Midwest is I always say we're Southern Canada, Wisconsin, but yeah, it's we used to hear messages like, "Don't stop acting like a big shot. The world doesn't revolve around you." And so that was the idea is that you have to blend in, you have to be accepted. Don't draw attention to yourself and don't stand out too much because you're going to be looked down upon. And so I remember having that same exact kind of message. And
Right. And as a woman, too, the idea of drawing attention to myself while I walk down the street by myself, even if I'm not dressing in an overtly sexualized way and drawing that kind of attention, just drawing any kind of attention to myself felt a little bit dangerous. And
Mhm.
I had to get past that. in order to do my project. That was one of the things that hung me up, was just it didn't feel safe. It wasn't like I was really cognitively thinking of what the danger would be, but it just felt a little weird. Everyone's going to look at me. That means maybe someone will look at me who means me harm, or something like this. Like just hiding from the world felt safer as a woman, and I really had to challenge that. I think actually I'm safer if people are noticing me. Like, better that people know me, notice me. They would know if I were missing. They would know if something were happening to me. They would feel protective of me if they saw me being harassed. I think it's better. It's better to be visible,
I agree.
safer.
I agree. I never thought of it that way, but I could see that. When I lost my husband 8 years ago, I had just the typical haircut, and I was just like exactly the uniform, the black yoga pants, and the same thing you're talking about. And then I went to get my haircut once, and it was the same hairdresser, no big deal. I had hair about down to here, the typical bob thing, the roller brush, and maybe some bangs or something. I can't remember. And I don't know what he did, but all of a sudden he just cut my hair really short and shorter than this. And I turned around and I'm like, "Oh my God, what have you done?" And I thought to myself, "All right, Jill, you're going to go and tell everybody, oh, he made a big mistake." And I thought to myself, wait a minute. When I was in my teens, I worked in hair salons, really cool progressive hair salons in the 80s. And we used to wear our hair slicked back with like gel, and we would put red lipstick on in the Robert Palmer video, right? Addicted to Love. And I thought, Jill, you go home and you own it and you slick your hair back and you do that. And so I did, and I have had my hair short ever since, and I'm telling you, everyone was just like, "Wow, that is amazing, you look awesome," and I never apologized for it. I never said, "Oh, this was an accident. Oops, I can't believe he did this. I don't like it. It looks terrible. I know it looks terrible." No, I just said I remember literally looking at myself saying, "You own this, and you do it." And it changed my life. It really did. I started losing weight, which I was already losing weight because of the loss, but just I felt different, and I felt really good about myself. And it's amazing how we make little changes can impact how we feel about ourselves and how we can feel more comfortable even being in public. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but there was something you said in the TED Talk that really compelled me. You said, and I've lost this a little bit. You got me back on track. I have to tell you, thank you for this, because during the pandemic, I would dress up every day and shower and be sitting in front of my computer, and I'd get on Zoom calls and we'd be talking to people. It was a big thing then. But I would dress every day and I'd shower first thing and I'd get all dressed up, even if I was going to the office or something. I had worked from home. So I didn't have a job for a year. I haven't had a job in 20 years like that. So I was working from home always, but I always dressed up or I had something, right? So I kept doing that, the short hair now and everything. And I felt really good about it, and it felt different, and I was more productive. And I've noticed in the past year or two, slacking a little bit more, maybe not showering one day because I'm not seeing anybody. So I just brush my hair, brush my teeth. It's fine. Wash my face. And I noticed how I was not as productive. And I told myself one of the goals I wanted to have is I said, Jill, it will be a game changer if you shower first every morning before you do anything. Do it. Once you get yourself in that shower and you start putting your stuff together and you put your makeup on, you're going to be the rest of the day is great. And that was something you did for me with that TED Talk that you did, is you offered that. And that's what I remembered is how impactful that was. So thank you for that. How did this Turnout Tuesdays idea is what were you seeing when you were going? I know you mentioned the pandemic and the TED Talk too. And what are you said, okay, what do I have to do? How did you come up with the idea? So I guess is the easiest way to ask it.
So the project came first and then the pandemic in pretty short order. I have always been a fan of the 50s. In the 80s, I was like a real 50s revival girl. That was my adolescence and young adult life. So I was just way into that stuff. But I didn't dress like a grown woman from the 50s. I would have looked like somebody's grandma. So now that I'm 55, I was 50 at the time I came up with the idea for the project. I gravitated toward the 50s aesthetic, but for a woman my age. And I just nerded out on this stuff. I was singing in a group where we all wore matching 50s outfits and sang a cappella arrangements of 40s and 50s songs. And so we had these little like fitted bodice, big skirt kind of dresses, and we'd wear pearls and little white gloves. And sometimes I would go to the grocery store after I had been in a performance, and I would just keep the outfit on. And the way people responded to me at the grocery store was really something. They would come up and say, "Oh my gosh, you remind me of what my mother looked like back then," or whatever. And I'd have these really sweet moments. And then I would go home and I would think to myself, what if I just dress like that for the heck of it once in a while, just as a feel good thing for other people, for myself? And I just couldn't make myself do it until I turned 50 and I was at this art fair where I was like promoting my friend's vintage fair. She gave me a big stack of postcards and said, "Would you hand these out at this big art fair tomorrow?" And I said, "Sure. And I'll dress the part. I'll wear a hat and gloves and the handbag and the whole bid, polka dot dress." And I ran out of cards. I think she must have given me 500 cards. I ran out of them. Everybody wanted to engage with me. And a lot of them came running at me from 20 yards away to say, "Oh my gosh, I just love your outfit. You made my day." And it was just so extreme, really, the positivity coming at me, that I just turned to this random guy next to me and I said, "Okay, I am making a declaration to you, random guy, right now, that I'm going to make a commitment to dress this way 1 day a week for a year. And then maybe I'll write a book about it. But I'm going to pick a day of the week. I don't know which day of the week it's going to be yet, but I'm going to go home and think about that. But mark my words." I never saw this guy again. Just mark my word. I'm going to commit to this. And so that was July of 2019. And I went home and I thought about it and I thought, it can't be a weekend because everyone will think I'm going to a party. Can't be a Friday because that's practically the weekend. Can't be a Monday. We often get those office holidays here in Canada. So then it was like a toss-up: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I thought Tuesday is just a nothing day. Like nothing fun happens on Tuesday. I will be the fun thing that happens on Tuesdays. And so I had a small amount of wardrobe from my stage costumes for this singing group, but I just immediately started to scour thrift stores and vintage fairs for stuff I could add into it. And once I got going, people started to donate stuff to this effort. They thought it was such a wonderful thing I was doing. They would just say, "We've got a whole bag of Aunt Marge's old hats. Maybe you could wear them. Nobody else is going to do anything with these. We're just going to give them to Goodwill." And they'd be all crushed up in the bag and looking like a dog's breakfast. And then I would lovingly take each one and fluff it up with the steamer and reshape it and then wear it. And you think these things are ridiculous until you put it all together with the whole outfit and you carry yourself with intention. And it's just, I don't know, it's just been such an incredibly warm response I've gotten no matter where I go, big cities, small towns, wherever I am on a Tuesday, I dress like this. Wherever the wind blows me, I insist on doing this. So it's been 5 years of Tuesdays now. I've missed maybe a handful for illness or whatever, but otherwise every Tuesday. And then the pandemic happened about 8 months into the project. So March of 2020. And all of a sudden it was, oh, wow, this has taken on new significance. If people didn't realize how essential it was to have these incidental social contacts with the people in their community when they go out grocery shopping or whatever, they understand it now. And it did start to be this hot topic of how people were really going down the tubes without that. They were so desperate to just see human beings, the normal kind of social experiences we had when we were out and about. So every time I was out and about, I dressed in an intentional way. And on Tuesdays, this like super intentional way. And I ratcheted it up a notch with like bigger jewelry and more exciting hats because it had to read from so far away. And I just became this goodwill figure. People would see me on the street and they would yell out, "Oh, it's Tuesday." Because you know how we all forgot what day of the week it was.
Yes.
It was like they could set their watch by me. They were like, "Oh, it's Tuesday. Thanks for reminding me what day of the week it is."
That's so great. I love it because not only are you really helped yourself to change your state of mind, but also other people you interact with, which I think is beautiful. It's such a give and take. There's no to win. And you talk about something about call it the hello zone. And I want you to show us some examples. Tell us what the hello zone is and go expand on that.
When I applied to do the TEDx talk at Surrey, BC, I had to write a sort of a draft of a script, what I would present on stage. And I already understood that there was something magical about this area at or above your collarbone. And I thought, I need to come up with some catchy phrase for that area. And so I thought, hello, zone. Because it sounds like ozone. And I wasn't, people would have bad associations with ozone, but I thought it's like life giving. I don't know, maybe like
Yes.
the ozone layer, but it's almost like we need the oxygen of social interaction. So anyway, it's the
Yeah,
hello
right.
zone. And I also think it's good to focus on that area, but it's not like amazing shoes don't work to start conversations as well. But I thought I want to focus on this area because it encourages eye contact. It's just a gimme. If someone's already looking in this area, they're going to make eye contact with you. It's really hard to avoid it. And if they like what they're seeing, it's a sparkly thing. Like I'm wearing a brooch that's shaped like a key. It's an
Oh,
from the 50s. And I'm wearing this necklace that has a really pretty bead on it. And I've got my sparkly little earrings. And so already, this isn't over the top. This is just small little accessories, but I'm allowing someone a bridge to cross. And if they're staring at it, it's not offensive, especially with men. I'm not dressing in a way that invites comment because I'm showing off my heaving cleavage.
yeah.
Yeah. Or I've got shorts up to here. I'm drawing attention to this area around my face as a way of saying, it's okay to look at me. It's okay to greet me. It's okay to engage with me. And so this is the very minimum that I would do on any normal day now. I just like what it does for me. And the other thing I say about festooning your hello zone is that hats start chats. So a lot of people say, "Oh, you can wear hats, I can't wear hats." And I say, that's like saying, "You can wear shoes, but I just can't wear shoes." Only 70 years ago, everybody had to wear hats. It was part of polite society. Men and women had to wear hats. And so they had to find the hats that suited them, that fit them, that looked nice. So those old hats from the 50s, that's a very specific thing to wear. And there's some engineering involved in doing it with hat pins and hairstyles and whatnot. So I'm not expecting people to do that. But I wanted to use the example of this hat that I wear quite a lot in my normal life, like just anytime I'm out and about in this summer season. It's one of these sort of
Mm.
straw type hats. It's one that you can mush up, like you can travel with it. It can just smash flat. I got it secondhand at a really nice consignment store in town. And I added a sort of a translucent chiffon scarf. I just wrapped that around the crown and tied it on. And then I clipped on a fake silk flower because there's power in flower. You can use a flower like this and clip it onto your hat or your lapel or even like your purse. It's really amazing what flowers can do. Anyway, so here I've got the flower and the scarf on here. And so now my plain old hat looks pretty special. And I can wear it with the brim down or the brim up, and I can wear it backward on my head, and I can wear it pulled down. And it can be very functional because if it's sunny, you want to have a hat on. But this flower, it's like a magnet for people to notice. And they say, "Oh, nice hat," or "I love your hat." And then I do this very important thing. I receive generously. I
Oh,
receive as generously as I give. So when someone gives you a compliment about what you're wearing, do you reflexively deflect it? This is what I ask people. If somebody says, "Oh, I love your hat," and I say, "Oh, this old thing, I got it for free in a box at somebody's yard sale and it was the end of the day and they just said, have it." So I'm deflecting. I'm telling you where it came from and that I didn't have to pay for it. How is that relevant? Here's what you say. You Wasn't that easy? But
yeah.
that's a generous way to receive because you're not blocking that person's appreciation. So I talk about this a lot about when somebody gives you a compliment about what you look like or what you're wearing, again, that kind of like We feel like we need to be really modest and deflect that, or we're full of ourselves or something, whatever the programming is. And I say, think of it like a 5-year-old child who's just picked a bouquet of violets at the very beginning of spring. And they walk up to you and they say, here, this is for you, that little tiny, delicate bouquet. And what would you do? Would you swat those flowers out of that kid's hand and say, oh, now I don't want that? You would take it and you'd be like, oh, thank you, sweetheart. And so that's the energy in which I receive every bit of appreciation I get. I just say, oh, thank you, sweetheart. Don't make it hard for people to appreciate you. Don't punish them for appreciating you. Don't think, oh no, I look terrible today.
We all do that, right? It's it's that thing that you said, we're taught this thing about being humble and don't be like this, like we're a show off or arrogant. And that thing of being this, thank you. I loved that, what you said about the little violets. That was a great way to see it. Because when someone, I do this all the time in the grocery store. I notice people and some saying something. I notice something about someone. I just initiate a conversation just to brighten up their day a little bit. But if they return or they don't even look at me or answer me, I go, oh, I feel dejected. Oh, okay. And I keep going. But I have that feeling of, oh, so we're literally, even if someone compliments us or says something nice and we don't receive it, we're actually hurting them in a way. We're doing them a disservice.
It's actually selfish. And so I'll tell people, stop being so selfish. You need to receive generously. You need to receive as generously as you give.
Receive as generously as you give. Okay, so I'm listening and I'm seeing the hat. I love the style. We're going to put a lot of these photos and have them embedded through the video of pictures of you doing this with your different outfits so they can get ideas. But I'm immediately thinking of someone who might be just really shy and just isn't outgoing. You said, I know, I love the way you said you're an extrovert, a socially skilled introvert, which I love that. I'm like, sounds right. I get that. I like that. I can relate to that. But someone who truly is an introvert, I just don't like people drawing attention to myself. And yet I have a women's group for midlife women. In fact, there's a link in here. Everyone can join. You can subscribe, come in, and it's free. It's on Zoom. Every Wednesday we meet and we just have a coffee chat. Basically, there's no agenda, nothing. We're not selling anything. They love this call because they want to connect with people. And so many times, so many people, my women in the group, they would work from home. They're isolated. And if no one like me, I don't have children, I have family, but they're away. They're not close to me. If I don't do anything for a week, if I don't leave the house, no one knows. No one knows. I can show up on a Zoom call. I can do these interviews. I can talk, but no one knows what I do after this interview. And so I think there's a real epidemic of people living in silence and fear or just isolation and depression, low grade depression, or maybe they're being productive, but there's that low grade depression where they just don't feel fulfilled because we're not out the way we used to be. I love literally being physically around people. And I could tell a difference since the pandemic of not being around people as much. That's probably why I travel so much, is just needing to be around people. But I think there's this thing that's happening is that we just need this connection. This is a great way to do it, is to force yourself to get out there a little more in an easy way without having to just, hi, how are you doing? Knocking on doors. My name is, will you be my friend? Loser. But you can do it in a way that people will actually engage you and say something to you first. So I love this, but I was trying to get to a point here, my ADD kicked in, is when the people probably who are saying, I don't want people to draw attention to me, but I'm still feeling alone. How can this process still work for those kinds of people?
So what I would say about that is sometimes people don't like exercise because they use their muscles and they're sore the next day. And they say, I know maybe I need to move my body more, but it just hurts when I do it. It's uncomfortable. And yet, if you push through that, you get stronger and you're not necessarily sore after every workout. But starting is painful and you might understand there's a benefit, but the pain seems to deter you and you just quit. And I have to say that habits of being able to comfortably socially engage with the people around you, that's a neurological rewiring. And we all got wired out of it when we had to socially isolate. It was a really unfortunate, hard lesson in how neurology works because whatever you get accustomed to will become your default. But you can rewire it. You can introduce a different pattern. And so I really felt that. I'm a real nerd about things like neurology and how habits are formed and brain science. And I just took a look at myself from that perspective of like, where is my resistance coming from in this? Is it really that I don't want to talk to people? Or is it just that I am worried they're going to reject me? Or I'm worried they're going to be annoyed by me? And so I'm actually bringing some fear into this, or people might think I'm weird, or whatever I'm protecting myself against. It feels like it might be painful. It might be painful to venture into a social connection mindset and start engaging with the people around me in pleasant, small ways. But actually, like I say, it's more painful not to. And so for myself, I had to push through that every Tuesday for about 6 months. It took that long. So I was only doing this one day a week. The other days of the week, I let myself slide sometimes. Or I wouldn't leave the house because I work from home, like you were saying. But I did this one day a week, and it really clear to me that I was resistant. I would get dressed up in the outfit and that would be fine. And then it was time to leave the house. And I would be like, oh, people are going to be really annoyed. That was the one that really haunted me. I thought they're going to look at this and they're going to say, she's glorifying the patriarchy. And I imagine that these people would come running up and go, you shouldn't be wearing that stuff. That's terrible for women. And I don't know what I thought. Not one person has said that to me in 5 years. They might think it. They're allowed. But it's not like I live in this place where people run up to me to tell me something mean. They just look away if they don't like it. Or maybe they lean into some other stranger next to them and say, that lady is really an attention seeker, don't you think? But at least they're talking to each other. I'm this thing that's happening, and strangers might connect because they both see me at the same time. And I love that thought. Whatever they're saying about me, I don't care, as long as they're talking to each other. But it took me a while to get to a place where I didn't even think about it. And the other habit that I built was a real ease with giving people compliments and appreciation. Again, I wasn't shy before, but let's say I would be like hanging around in a line for something. We're all waiting for 15 minutes to get to something. And let's say I saw some lady with a scarf, just like this really cool scarf. Maybe it reminded me of the French flag or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I would think, oh, I really want to say something about that scarf. And I'd have some time to think about whether I was going to say something or not. And I'd be like, should I? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I should say something. I don't know. And then the moment would pass and I would say, why didn't I say something? And I would feel bad about it. Like I have this tug of war in my mind about whether to say something nice to someone. I don't know. Doing this project just put me in the mood to be in this sort of infinity kind of pattern of giving and receiving. So it's like I say, you've got to receive as generously as you give, because if you can't receive the appreciation coming at you, you like interrupt that, So the person gives you the compliment and you receive it generously. And then that's a gift to them. You're actually giving as you receive. You're giving them the ease and the connection that they so are wanting. They're wanting to celebrate with you about whatever it is you're doing or wearing. And so you just keep it going. You just go, oh, yeah, thank you. I really love what you've got on. Or, wow, that's a really cool bag. Where'd you get that thing? Or, oh, I love what you've done with your hair. It's just so beautiful. I love the colors in it, or whatever. Or, wow, that's a cool tattoo that you got. Or I became really expert at being aware of the people around me and appreciating them. It wasn't like they were all walking around looking like they were ready for the runway at a fashion show, but they often had some little choice they'd made. Somebody wearing like a super bright fuchsia raincoat.
Yeah.
And I'll come up to them now and I'll just be like, nice job picking the pink raincoat. And they look at me like, and I say, I bet it came in black too, didn't it? Yeah. And I said, so why did you pick the pink one? It looks fantastic. They're like, because of this. Because it just makes me feel better to wear this color. And other people come up and we talk and I say, yeah, you're doing it. Yes.
I love this because that's something I've noticed, like, when I walk into stores or I see somebody and they're just doing the checkout and they're down and you can just tell their energy level's low. And I didn't even notice, I realized I did this till you were saying this, is I think I mentally, subconsciously made it a game. It's, "Okay, let's see if we can move this person a little bit. Let's see if we can impact them." And so it's like this, "So how's your day going? How's it going?" And they're like, "Oh," and it's they just perk up like someone noticed me. And I think that's something, and I've studied loneliness for many years now. I used to have a matchmaking service, and it really hit me how this was such a big thing, is people are dying to be seen, yet they're so afraid. They're so afraid of connection, and there's it's so much easier to think this false connection through social media today and other things. And then we're working our jobs and we're doing our thing and we're on autopilot, and we're so used to, as especially people in the service industry, they're not noticed often. And when someone notices them, they're so shocked. And I think that this is something, a way that we can do that. And going back to this thing about how people feel sometimes about being afraid. And I love the way you described this, is how you got to really look inside of yourself, is what's really holding me back from doing it, or what was. And that's so we can ask ourselves, because when I do that, when I'm out in the stores and shopping around here and I'm going through different places, I come home and I feel 100 times better than if I sat in my house all day. 100. I don't care how many Zoom calls I had. It is not the same as when you walk, and I walked in and I'm at TJ Maxx or I'm at the grocery store and I'm walking through the line, I'm smiling at someone, and I just like to, I know it's going to be fuel for me and fuel for them. And I never realized until you described it that way. I just naturally was doing that. I'm not wearing the outfits necessarily, but I will hesitate to go out when I'm not dressed properly sometimes too. I'll go to the grocery or something, but then I don't want to talk to people because I don't feel like I look like I should approach them. Yes.
That whole during the pandemic when it became acceptable to wear your pajamas to the grocery store and to have your hair going every direction like you just rolled out of bed. And it wasn't like someone was going to come and arrest you for that, but it's not like people really felt liberated doing that. This is what I want people to really examine. When anything goes and you choose the lowest level of what you can get away with, what is your energy like walking around that way? So, what I say is that when people leave the house in a way where they don't feel good about the way they look, they've already got a kind of like a defensive posture around themselves. And they're thinking before they even walk out, oh God, I hope I don't see anybody I know. Oh God, I hope nobody sees me like this. They're already like, and like I make the hand gesture because it's like you're putting up a barrier, like hiding, don't look at me. And so you walk into the store and you've got your head down and you're just looking for what you need. And then, oh my gosh, if somebody does recognize you, that sinking feeling that you
Yeah.
have. Oh, oh God, of all the days.
And then you, of course, have to justify, I just got, you make it up. I go, got it from the gym. I was sweaty. I did this thing. And right, we make the excuse like why we look like we do. And probably didn't even notice, but yeah,
But the whole quality of that connection is
it's
tainted by this resistance that you have to be looked at. And so I say, the reason I want people to be splendid, to really go out into the world and treat it like it's this moment of opportunity to have pleasant, warm connections with people who might be around you. It's like when you put yourself together in this way that feels splendid to you, you're ready to be seen and you don't have that same kind of cowering, oh God, apologetic feeling. And you're more likely to, it's like your posture's just going to change. Your heart is going to open, right? Like we do this, we cave in. When we do this, we're open. And so I often say you are cutting yourself off from the thing you need the most when you leave the house in a way that you feel ashamed of. There's no reason to do that. Take an extra 10 minutes and just prepare. And sometimes it is as easy as just throwing on the cool scarf or throwing on the cool hat. Like your hair looks terrible. Okay.
oh, I'm a hat person. Everybody knows if I'm wearing a hat, I didn't wash my hair.
Hey, who cares about the hair now?
That's right. No,
But
you
just
don't care. But you
allow.
look great. Yeah.
Just allow. So it doesn't take anything. I mean, I've got the whole makeup on. This is the 20-minute version of my makeup because I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I have a 2-minute version of my makeup that at least I feel like it's okay. It's okay. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Gosh, I'm so glad we had this conversation. I didn't expect it to go this way. And I'm so thrilled because I just think there's so many people who need to hear this right now. And myself, because whenever I think, I'm just like, yes, thank you for the reminder. Let me throw something out at you though, because here's what's something that occurred to me, it started to occur to me a few years ago is who am I being? I mentioned it briefly earlier. Who am I being when no one's looking? Meaning, will it matter if like I said earlier, if I don't shower right away, or if I'm gonna sit in my chair and have my coffee for a few hours, and I only told myself 30 minutes, it ends up being 3 hours, and I'm on my phone and watching videos, watching your TED Talk, which is amazing. And then I'm like, okay, I really should get in the shower now and start getting ready. And it does that really impact? And I'll tell you, it does. And it goes back to what I said when I started that Zoom, when I started in the pandemic and dressing every day, even when I wasn't going anywhere. Because my excuse is, I'm not going anywhere. Why do I want to? That's going to take so much time to get ready. And then I'm going to put something on and I'm not going to even be on a video today. Why am I doing that? And so came up with this idea too. Someone who is a YouTube consultant said, well, you have your on camera days and your off camera days. Just do your on camera days. And I'm like, okay, but maybe I'm just doing a couple a week. So then I got so out of habit of that. And I noticed I just started to feel down. And so it doesn't just apply to our interaction with other people, but how we're feeling about ourselves, because we're our own worst critic, right? We will judge ourselves even when no one's looking, for not doing or being or feeling good about things. How do you feel about that? Do you agree with that? And have you felt the same?
Yeah, I would say it's just, I hate to be woo-woo about it,
No, I
but
love that. On my channel is a lot of woo woo. So go woo all day. It's fine.
okay, it's an energy thing.
Yep.
So I used to do theater production at one stage of my young life. And, you can rehearse all day long in your t-shirt and your jeans for the character, but there's something that happens when you put on the makeup and the outfit to be that character. You start to inhabit that character, and aspects of yourself that are genuine are easier to bring forward when you're dressed the part. Okay, so this is specific to human beings. We actually do shift in the way that we energetically, I don't know, feel and interact and experience ourselves depending on what we're wearing. So the example I give is, okay, say you're sick in bed for a week and it just knocks you flat and you wear like the same pajamas and robe for a week and it's just horrible feeling, like just bleh,
Yeah.
bleh,
It's
you know.
just
So
yeah.
so there's the illness, but there's also just the kind of the yuck of just festering in this stuff. And then that first day that you're well enough to shower and put on real clothes, what is it that people tend to say about that feeling?
Oh, I
They
feel so much better today.
they say, "Oh, I feel human again,"
Oh, yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so I say, what I'm doing on Tuesdays is like that leap times 1,000. So the leap that you make between schlumping around in your pajamas and being at least wearing like regular clothes, that's a promotion in your energetic experience of yourself and what role you're playing in the world. It's like you've gone from invalid to participant. You've put on real pants and a real shirt, and it's not your pajamas anymore. And so you are dressed to be a citizen again. You're not an invalid. You're not a patient. You're not
Yeah.
ill. So when people dress as though they are an ill patient and they go out of the house and interact in public, they are perhaps
We're
not
sending that energy
realizing,
out that we are that. It just
they're not realizing how it's almost impossible then to bring that engaging energy into your interactions. You've really disabled that part of whatever it is in our humanity that becomes more socially receptive when we're dressed the part. What role do we play in our community? Do we play the person who lives on the street and doesn't have access to shelter? Or do we play the role of somebody who is here to help build community in whatever ways that we can, whether it's professionally or as a volunteer or just as a pleasant person who beams goodwill and kindness into the world? And when I feel the worst, like something horrible's happening, I'm grieving something, or some huge disappointment really comes in, and or somebody's been, I don't know, I've had an interaction with my kid or something that went sideways, I really can fall into the trap of thinking I just need to avoid people. I'm not fit for consumption. I should just stay home. I'm not okay. So this isn't necessarily about what I'm wearing, but it's about I'm not in a good enough mood, or I'm not in a good enough place, or I have depression, anxiety, I'm grieving. There's no way anybody would want to be around me. I should just give everybody a break from this, do everybody a favor, and I'll just stay away. And it is also a trap because I say, go ahead and take 5 for a minute and collect yourself. Maybe you need a day for it. That's okay. Don't get sucked into that habit, and don't buy that false promise that you're going to be better off, or that you're sparing other people some burden by staying away from your community. I have found a kind of a mystical experience happens to me when I am having the worst days.
Oh, I
And
know that
and
feeling.
they fall on a Tuesday, and I'm like, "Oh my god. I'm accountable to nobody. Who cares if I don't do this project? It's not like I have to. I'm not getting paid to do this. Like, I'm just not gonna do it." And every time I say, "Just do it anyway. Just do it anyway. See what happens." Oh my gosh. It really is mystical, because I go out into the world and sometimes there is just this heaviness in my heart. And by the time I've had a few interactions with people and they're coming at me with all this appreciation, "Oh, that is on your hat," or, "Oh, that is the best color. That's my favorite color. I just can't wear it. Oh my gosh, my mother looked just like that when I was a child." Whatever it is they're coming at me with, I'm just like, I have to be in the moment. I have to be focused on them and not me, them and not my problems. And it's like I don't know, it's like an exorcism or something. Like it just, whatever it was that I was carrying that was so heavy, it gets lighter.
Yes.
And I just come home and say, this is a miracle. If I had just gotten on the call with my therapist or whatever, if I'm seeing somebody who counsels me or something, and I just poured out all of my problems to them and dwelt on what is making me feel terrible. No, it's so different to go out there, and every little bit of appreciation I receive generously, that's a gift to other people. If I give them appreciation directly, that's an act of service. And it is those acts of service and small social interactions that are healing us. That is what heals us. We
100%.
have to leave the house to get it, though. You have to leave the house.
Yes, yes, and I love this so much. Oh my gosh, this is amazing because, yeah, I can't tell you people I know need this, and this is I wow, the charge, and I know some people are listening and watching this right now and saying, "Yeah, I do feel better when I get out." And just remember those moments. I love when you use moments like when you had that example, especially the toughest days where you're just like, I don't feel like going anywhere. And that's when the biggest miracles happen. It's the days we used the comparison or the gym. The days we don't want to work out are sometimes the days that we have make the most progress. And we just have to make that little push sometimes to do it and to stick with the routine. And Michael Beckwith, I love Michael Beckwith, and he says, make your discipline your blisscipline. So by continuing to be disciplined, for him meditating regularly, because I'm always saying, when will it be a point where like when you're running, when will I finally love doing this and it won't suck every time I go run? Or when will actually just want to crave to go and sit and meditate? Because some people I know are just like, oh, they're big meditators. I can't wait to meditate. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But it's at some point, the discipline becomes your blisscipline. And I think this is a great example of that.
I also chose something that blissed me out just because I'm such a nerd about 50 stuff. And people will say, "Oh my gosh, I want to see your closet." And I say, "It's not a closet, it's a spare room."
Yay.
I have a studio where I do all of my mending, and I have my little hat hospital for the poor wayward hats that got crushed up in someone's attic for 70 years. Like, I love these things. I have been a very minimalist person at times, and one of my favorite things to do is purge. But right now, I do have quite the curated collection of all kinds of things that I just love wearing and assembling into outfits. I say that they're like, it's like a form of art, like assemblage or collage that you can wear. I know when, who's that guy has a project? I think it's Advanced Style. It's a photographer who documents women of a certain age.
Oh, really?
And I am. I'm, like I said, I'm
I'm
55.
50. I'm 53. Yeah.
These are women who are like well into their 70s or 80s even or 90s, and they are rocking it. And he started to find them on the streets of New York, just running around looking like just a amazing work of art.
Divas is beautiful. Like I always think that in Spanish word diosas, goddesses, just gorgeous women that are just that's so much in Argentina too. We talked about Buenos Aires women in Argentina. They just don't ever let it go. And that's the thing about age is when we get to a certain age, we are we think it's okay to just wear the fat pants and we don't call them fat pants, but they end up being fat pants. And we just let ourselves go. And it's never too late. That's my favorite line. It's never too late.
Even
Because the
though
reinvention queen, always start over, start again, try something new, and that's never too late.
whatever state you're in, though, physically, mentally, I just say add a little bit of flair to your hello zone and go out into the world. It doesn't have to be silly, but it could be. Some people, they really go for it and they wear like the animal ears or something, or they wear some really funky scarf that's got super bright colors. Like this one is just, this is not subtle, right? Just putting on a little bit of something. And I'm not talking about buying a whole new wardrobe. I'm talking about the things that don't even have to fit. No matter how much weight I gain, I can still wear my hat, right?
Yes.
Have
Doesn't
some
matter. Yeah.
Sure. Have some signature pieces. The other thing I tell people, your glasses. Okay. If you need to wear glasses, you have a choice to make when you're in the optical shop. Are you going to get the ones that just like completely blend you into the crowd? Or are you going to get the ones that have a little bit of flair, a little bit of sparkle? People might say, "Oh, I love your glasses." When people say, "Oh, I love your glasses," guess what they're looking at? Your eyes. That you cannot help but get this feeling that you have been seen, that you belong. I say it's like when you're beheld, you are held. Like to stand in the presence of another human being and have them really take you in a way that is appreciative. It's not because of what weight you are or what kind of figure you have
Right.
or beauty of your face, or it's that you made a choice to adorn yourself with something that lit someone up. Like you made that choice, but it's a gift you gave yourself and other people. So I say, challenge yourself next time you need to get a pair of glasses. If you're not already putting a little flair into those, challenge yourself to get the pretty cool pair. They don't have to be super wacko, not like Dame Edna. Like you don't have to go that crazy unless you want to. You'll be talking to people all day long if you go for like the cuckoo glasses.
Yeah.
Just ones that have a little bit extra style.
I love that. And as you say, the thing about the things that you wear is that, like, it hit me. The thing about introverts is people initiate the conversation with you because you're drawing attention that they can't help but not speak. So if you're dipping your toe in the water and just wanting to start this, and you're maybe shy or not sure what to say to people, start this way and let someone start the process by commenting and seeing something about your glasses or your hat. That's a great way. Then you're able to respond instead of trying to think of something to come up with. This is a great hack for that. A great way to do that. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
And the like I say, neurologically, what happened to me was the more appreciation I received in these little moments, the more I realized that it became reflexive to give appreciation back. And then I started to initiate the appreciation any day of the week, even if it wasn't Tuesday. First, I noticed that it was happening on Tuesdays. Then I noticed, oh my gosh, I can't quit. Every day of the week, no matter how I'm dressed, I'm more likely to engage with people in this friendly way. Maybe I just noticed something in their grocery cart when we're standing in the line, and I'll say, "Oh, I was going to try that cheese. How is it?"
Yeah, you can think about I swear you can really think of anything, and it doesn't have to
And,
be a compliment.
And you know what? People often, you have to read the room. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say that you should come charging up to people who are deep in conversation with each other and interrupt them, even to tell them something nice. You wait for your opening. I actually taught my children when they were little, like kindergarten age. Here is how you talk to strangers. You know how we sometimes we'll tell kids, stranger danger, you should never talk to strangers. I was like, hey kids, guess what? Every friend was a stranger once. So how do we talk to strangers? Sometimes we need help. And so we need to pick who we ask for help. What are some things that we're going to look for when we're looking for someone who might be able to help us? Would we go for this person or that person? And I would just take them through it. With my son, we went on a trip to Vancouver together on the ferry boat. And he was really scared to talk to strangers. His dad had told him that it was dangerous. All of his teachers and coaches had told him it was dangerous. And here I was, this lone voice in the wilderness saying, no, honey, it's really a good thing. And there were these ladies having ice cream on the boat. And he looked at me and he said, I want ice cream. And I said, I don't know where you get ice cream on this boat, but if you go and ask them where they got their ice cream, maybe we can find out. And he said, oh, I can't talk to them. I don't know them. And I said, okay, here's how you do it. You're going to walk over there and you're going to stand nearby and you're going to wait until they notice you. And maybe they will ask you, can I help you? And then you say, oh, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just wondered where you got your ice cream. He was not wanting to do this. I thought, are we going to be able to build him up in his confidence quick enough before the ice cream melts and is consumed? But I just said, no, really, honey, I want you to try this. The desire for ice cream took hold. Anyway, so he went over there and he engaged these ladies and it became a very pleasant little conversation. And they were so charmed by this little boy who was about 5 years old, who had the confidence to come over and talk to grown ladies and ask them for advice. And then he came back to me and he said, it's over there around the corner. And I said, great, let's go get some.
Oh,
I told him, everywhere we go in Vancouver, we're going to be talking to strangers because I don't know anybody there and neither do you. So let's really examine who I speak to, how I speak to them, and why I choose them and not someone else. And we had this whole adventure where my car got towed and we had to take buses and trains and everything to go get my car out of Hawk. And I was like, I could see this as a big downer, but instead I saw it as this wonderful opportunity to show my kid, how do we do this thing? How do we navigate the world? If we're going to navigate the world successfully, we have to be skilled at talking to strangers and do it safely. So now he's 23 and he has mentioned to me a few times, Mom, I remember how you taught me how to talk to strangers. And he said, it's something that I now teach my friends. These kids in their 20s, they actually need to learn this. And he coaches his contemporaries. Generation Z, they are the loneliest generation that's ever existed. And after I gave my TEDx talk, there were some young people who came charging up to me in the lobby, late teens, early 20s, and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired. I can't wait to try this. Thank you so much for what you said. And I thought, oh, I thought I was giving a talk for middle-aged and older ladies. No, men came up to me. Young people came up to me. It's an everyone thing. And it was so gratifying to know that this message is being taken on board and helping people. Like I could help one person at a time on Tuesdays. Now, like 500,000 people have seen that TEDx talk. And that is powerful for me to know that many people are receiving what I have to say about this. And many of them may see their lives improve if they can try it out. It's so exciting to think that could be happening.
I used to do a lot of talking on Clubhouse, which is an audio app, like a podcast, live podcast, and during 2021 especially. And this was the perfect time during the pandemic, and this is what they were doing. And you're saying this thing about people talking, and it's people. I always say I found my voice there because it was that. We learned to get comfortable and confident on how to have deep interaction and deep conversation. And you taught. I used to say to people, when you make this one connection with someone, and they see something different and they make a choice, which you've done with 500,000 people, 500,000 people, this is called legacy building, because there are people that are going to go home. It's not just a 500,000 people, Molly. It's generations. This is generations that are going to be changed because of what you did. And I used to say that to people all the time when they were making a difference in someone by what they said and what they did. You are making a difference because someone's going to go home and talk differently to their children. They're going to teach them something they didn't know before. And they're going to, you have shifted the future right now. I hope you know that. And I think this is what I say to everyone I meet is I believe every single person on this planet has a message to share that someone needs to hear. And every day you don't share your message, someone's suffering. And a message could simply be, hey, hi, I like your scarf. It sounds crazy. It doesn't have to be my life story and how I was traumatized and then I got out of it and now I'm a great person. I'm help all these. No, it's just being present and allowing other people to see you so they can feel the scene. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, and that sincerely. This is so dynamic what you're doing. I'd
I
love to have you. I would love to have you come speak to my group sometime and join on our Zoom call. I know I'd love to meet you.
I I would be honored, and I mean, I have to say I'm quite moved by what you just said. Like, I have tears, my heart is just so full, it's aching. Wow! To think that that
Generations.
impact is even beyond the people who actually watched it, what they will now do, what they will tell others, what they will ostensibly rethink what they're telling their kids. It's almost I don't know. I just feel like this is the greatest gift I ever received to get that platform to talk about it. They were hesitant at first. I didn't even make the cut to audition. At first, someone got sick and then they let me audition for that TEDx. I had to get there in 18 hours and just run in and audition quick, but I came in the green suit and I did that audition and they just said, okay, we know who number one's going to be. What are the other 11 going to be? They were so blown away by the whole presentation, right? Just and I think that's part of why people are clicking on it is because you see a TED Talk and everybody has to wear something on stage. I wish I could advise some of the people about what they wear on stage, right? Because that little bit of flair, it's going to invite more people to just say, "Ooh, I want to see what that person has to say."
Yeah.
Yeah, wearing the green suit and the green hat, and here's the word loneliness, and a lot of people just, "What the heck is this all about?"
You
And
had
then
me at loneliness and also the closet. And I went, hiding in your closet. I went, okay, this is it. And then I think I saw your picture, but I was looking at my phone. So it was probably small. And I went, okay, I love loneliness topics. And what's the closet thing? And I went, oh, because it was just so random. I usually listen to people that I already know, and I rarely click on somebody new these days. And it was just so out of the box, out of nowhere. And I just watched that thing and I just sat there like, what? This is unbelievable. I was moved. I was calling my mom like, "Oh my God, you got to watch this." I was crying. I was like, "This is amazing." And I send you a note immediately. And I'm like, I have the talk. This is what I do when I hear somebody. I go, "Oh, she probably won't even answer." She'll go, "She only has how many subscribers?" "Oh, I don't have time for that." That's my whole story. But with you, I just went, I did it before I even had a chance to talk myself out of it and think about it. I just sent you that note and I went, here's what my mom, and I told you the story about my mom. And I went, "Ah," and then I'm like, okay, that's probably going to be weird. All right, whatever. And I just walked away from it. And you responded like within a day. And I went, holy smokes. Oh my God. So yeah.
this is my joy, Jill, to talk to people about why I've done this and what I've learned from it. I only had 11 and a half minutes to do it on the TEDx talk. I could talk for the rest of my life about the nuances of what I've discovered. And it means so much to me to have a conversation with someone who gets it and who's already been living some of this yourself, who can say, yeah, this stuff works. I have a different way of saying it, but I think this is just like generally held wisdom. It's in all of us to know that this is real. And so I just found a way to remind everybody with a little bit of humor and some fun visual things to look at. And I just think I didn't invent anything. I just found a new way to say it that we all know this is true.
It's stunning. Are you I think you mentioned at one point in the beginning, you might be doing a book. Are you doing a book? Writing a book?
I held off because I'm a writer, and yet I realized the book has to be driven a lot by images.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what kind of book it would be. I think of it as like a how-to book, really how to build more social connection into your life, essays about the different aspects of what I've discovered, etc. So mostly pictures and not as many words.
Mm.
And talk about getting out of your own way and all this stuff. I thought, I'm not going to start approaching publishers as some nobody who just gets dressed up on Tuesdays. Who cares?
Oh my gosh.
And so but then I thought, if I get rostered on a TEDx talk and I can at least have a video of me speaking about my project in front of an audience, then that might be a calling card. Now, little did I know that this thing was going to take off like crazy. Now it's a really strong calling card. Now I've been told by other authors to hang back and wait and see if a publisher comes to me and says, hey, we want you to do a book, and this is the book we want you to do. Instead of me spending a bunch of time trying to dream up a book and then presenting it and having them say, great, we love you, but not this book. We want you to do this book. And
Yeah.
so I think, okay, I'm just gonna let it flow toward me now. I did the talk. That was a big
Oh,
effort.
it's huge. I've been wanting to do one for years. I have a really good friend who's Canadian as well, and he's been on my podcast, Paul Nadeau. And he said he did one, and he said you have to memorize the whole thing. And I went, I'm out. I'm like, I
Oh,
can
they gave me such a great way to memorize it. The things I got, it was like a from October to January weekly coaching, a one-on-one coaching. And
seriously.
yeah, on the script, on the delivery, on everything. Now I
And
am
TEDx, the organization did that.
TEDx Surrey TEDx,
Oh, okay.
Surrey, British Columbia. I had no idea that was arguably the premier TEDx organization in the world. Their quality of video production, their coaching program. Like, just to give you an example, there were 12 of us. 5 of us were selected to be editors' picks on the YouTube channel for TEDx when our videos got released. 2 of the talks have already been promoted to Big TED. So those two of the 12 have been promoted. The chances of that happening, there's 5,000 TEDx talks that get published on that YouTube channel a year.
Oh,
For
wow.
mine to be number 1 in July, that's
Huge.
a long shot. So I was an editor's pick and all these things are happening. I say that's because TEDx Surrey, they really do it right. So if you live in British Columbia, that's your TEDx.
Go
Go
there.
get into
Wow.
that one. That's a good one to get into. Yes.
That's beautiful. That's encouraging. I'm going to check out the TEDx's near both places I live and see if I don't think there's one in Argentina, maybe, but maybe in Miami. But that's incredible. I love that story because I know there's so many people that I know that are friends of mine that are coaches or they're in that space of personal development or spiritual. I know you don't know anything about my channel, but when you'll see some of the things. It's definitely, we have a wide variety of topics and on all things, but it's a lot of people that are interested in doing TED Talks. And so this will be of interest to them for sure. I
I,
could go on for
I will say that anybody who's interested in a TEDx talk, I would be so happy to cheer them on, to talk to them about it, and if they get accepted and they want to talk about their script or run their script by me or whatever, like I'm so excited about what that did for me. I'd like to help other people do it. So I'm a resource. If you
Oh,
want to talk to me about TEDx, I'm your girl. I would love to talk about
I'm
it.
going to have all your contact information in the description here so everyone can reach out to you too. And your Instagram's awesome too, by the way. I love it. And so really well done. I had so many more questions. I wanted to talk about other things that you do on the side with this as well, but maybe we'll do another interview and we can have you back again if you would like to do that, go into more detail. I've really enjoyed this so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say or feel you'd like to call to say?
No, I just want to say again, this has been absolutely a delight for me. I'd be happy to come talk with you anytime, Jill. What a joy. And also, on any topic you want. All of these things weave in. There's so many issues that we deal with as women. And I just love talking about development and life. And certainly in this one little area, I can tell everybody, go ahead and be splendid, whatever that means to you. You're doing a wonderful thing for yourself and a wonderful thing for the people around you. So dare to have flair.
Dare to have flair. I love it. Thank you again. Thanks, Molly, so much. And y'all check out the Midlife Women Mastery Group. I have this great group called the Lionesses, and we meet every week on Zoom. It's free. get Mollie to come join us too. And Mollie, you might want to just jump in and be with us during the weeks on Wednesdays. It's not on Tuesdays, but come on Wednesdays. So everyone check it out. And you know what? I want to ask everyone a favor. Please subscribe and share this. If you have a choice to subscribe or share it, which subscribes you, and put on the bell, because we have a lot of great videos that I release each week, and I think you'll love them. So thank you again. And thanks, Mollie. All right, everyone, stay connected, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.